And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Bemused. Now, Bemused, it says it's a game of doubt and dread. It's from Devious Weasel. Devious Weasel has made some very intriguing different styles of games. They have one about cannibals on an island. They have a kind of a fantasy game where you built the different monsters were very different, so very unusual. But this one here is more mainstream style. It is a social deduction game where you are a muse. You, the player, are a muse. You have a protege, a virtuoso, who you are, you want them to do well, and you don't really want the other players to do well. So it's kind of a social deduction style game where you secretly love or hate other people. Let's take a look. In this game, each person gets a virtuoso. You can be the musician, the singer, the poet, the painter, the dancer, or the thespian. And you can see the artwork on these cards is quite nice. Each one also has a little symbol here and a color kind of to differentiate them from each other. Each person is also going to secretly get a Gemina. This is going to be basically one of the players. You can even get your own. I might be the dancer and my Gemina is the dancer. Then you also will get a secret. This is how you feel about your Gemina. So you might love them. You might hate them. You might revere them. You might be devoted to them. And this is also kept secret on how you feel towards them. There are multiples of the different ones, so different things can happen. So players there are different kinds of cards. There's a pile of dread cards. Everyone starts with one. And players are also going to start with a handful of doubt cards. These doubt cards are going to match the different players in the game. Now, each player starts the game sane. I guess you're feeling pretty good. However, you could go insane, in which you just turn your card sideways to show you're insane, or you can be dead, which is, less exciting. So on your turn, the first thing you do is you draw two cards and add these cards to your hand. You then have different options. You can play a doubt card on somebody else. That card has to match that person. So I can play this on the dancer and be like, can you really dance? I'm not sure. Should you have entered? Fantasyland has talent? Yeah. So anyway, you can also discard two matching ones and put a dread directly on somebody, which is less exciting. It means you might die. Or if you have a dread card in your hand, you can just place it on anybody you want. And then finally, you can play a card that matches your own color and use your special ability. So for example, the dancer can move a dread from one player to the next. Thespian changes a doubt to a dread. Musician gets rid of a doubt. Singer gets rid of a dread. Poet changes a dread to a doubt. And the painter moves a doubt. Pretty simple. Now, if you ever have 5 cards in front of you, regardless of whether they're doubt and or dread on you, so let's say here I have 2 dread and 3 doubt, you immediately go insane. Boop. Now, when you go insane, you flip your Gemina card. Now, you can flip it face up. If it already is face up, you flip it down. So every time you go insane, this card flips. You can always reveal your Gemina when you're sane if you want to. So again, if you did that, then when you go insane, your Gemina flips. The reason you would want to reveal it is, I guess you're showing people who your Gemina is, but you can also use their special ability as well as your own. But you can't do that when you're insane. Insane is less fun. And in fact, when you're insane, you will, on your turn after drawing 2 cards, you will simply draw 2 random cards from your hand and choose an action with one of those 2 cards. You're kind of stuck with fewer actions. If you are insane and then you also have 3 or more dread, then you die. And when you're dead, basically each turn, you just put dread on someone else. I guess you're haunting them. So the game ends when there's fewer than 2 sane virtuosos in play. At that point, you're going to score. If you're sane, you start with 10 points. If you're insane, you start with 9 points. And then you will lose 1 point for every doubt on you, and you'll lose 2 points for every dread on you. If you are dead, you get 1 point for each other dead player, plus 0, 1, or 2 points, depending on how many players are playing in the game. And then finally, you get points for your secret if you pull it off. So for example, here I get 1 point if my Gemina is not insane at the end of the game. I get 2 points if they're dead because I hate them. And then whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. I should mention that when you go insane, if a card comes off you for whatever reason, you're down to 4 or less, you can become sane again, which is kind of nice. And I said you take an action in your turn. You can take a second action if you want to, if you are sane. You just have to remember that you don't draw more than 2 cards on your turn. And I also forgot to mention, at the end of your turn, you discard a card. So if you do more actions, you will eventually have fewer cards. Anyway, most points wins Bemused. Okay, so first of all, artwork is great. This is interesting. It's kind of a stark contrast to the last 2 games Devious Weasel did, but the artwork here is fantastic. It looks really good, and the theming is good, right? You are amused, here I impart upon you, do great things with your artistic talent. And so that theme can come into the game, and players can talk about that. Going insane, you doubt, there's lots of jokes like, you can't sing, you never could sing. That type of thing that's played on the other players. And it's kind of interesting, especially with the secret relationships. You're like, why are you trying to kill me? Do you hate me? Or someone like is defending you. They use their special ability to move dread off you. And you're like, I think they like me. Oh, so if you really get into the theming in that regard, I think you will like the game. Now, this game has some really unique things on appearance, but they're not quite as unique as you might think. The whole idea of secretly hating and loving and being devoted to somebody else has already been done in a game from Guerrilla Games called Lifeboat. We're on a lifeboat, and you secretly love one person on the boat and secretly hate somebody else, and that can be yourself. Kind of the same thing here, and so these 2 games, Lifeboat and A Battle of Muses, are actually very similar. Now, Battle of Muses works too, but Bemused definitely looks better, so it definitely gets the nod for that. But I think that Lifeboat might have been a little bit cleaner. This game is decent. Okay, I did not dislike it. I thought it was fine. And if you get into the theme, if you're talking about the muses and putting doubts and dread on people, it's fine. But it's very intriguing how the game works, because why not throw dread on people? You throw one dread on someone else. Let's kill that person. It doesn't really hurt you to kill someone. And I feel like the scoring for dead people is not that powerful. I know when I say things like this, people are like, well, wait, in this situation, yeah, it's really hard. If you are dead, really the only chance you have of winning is killing everybody else except for one person, if possible, and then having your secret goal met and nobody else's. That's really the only way, because they're also scoring points for everyone being dead. And so I feel like, okay, and you can say, well, that's fine. You shouldn't be able to win if you're dead. But the thing is, you can die really quickly. People can just go, and you're dead, really. Because 2 actions, you can be dead before you get a turn in this game. So I really wish that kind of was fixed to some degree. The going insane, I like the being insane and having to play with the cards that you have. And you got to be careful with the cards. And as we played this, our first game, everyone was just killing each other, except for maybe if you love someone, you don't kill them. In the second game, people are like, oh, wait a minute, that might not be a bad idea, because I might kill some people, but that doesn't help me win. So you're trying to win. So there was more insane and more careful card play and careful use of abilities. And that was intriguing to me to watch a very shift in the same players from game 1 to game 2, because everyone realized, oh, that's kind of how you play it. So yeah, this game is kind of, you have to know the right time to play doubts, the right time to know to play dread, and just kind of get in there. The biggest knock against A Battle of Muses, and again, I like it, is just that there's so many deduction games out there, and I'm not sure this one offers the same level as, well, I'm not sure, I'm very sure, it doesn't offer the same level as many other ones. There are many great social deduction games. This is not a great one. This one's decent. It has great artwork. It has some intriguing ideas other than it crossing over with Lifeboat. But let's say you never heard of Lifeboat. That's fine. That's still, and it's fun. But you got to get into the theme. You got to be talking about the muses and the dancing and the singing and the thespian. You never could act, sir. And that kind of thing. And if you do that, and also kind of keep that intrigue of who is your Gemini, and using special abilities at the right time to help you out or help your Gemini out or hurt your Gemini, will make it a fun game for a lot of people. That's Bemused. Dice Tower Judgment in the right situations, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door!